Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Welcome to another exciting, exhilarating episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, hosted by the one and only Phil Better, the podcast mogul. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a phenomenal guest for you whose journey is as inspiring as it is unique. From the rolling hills of Italy to the vibrant streets of Bengali, our guest has navigated the complexity of dual heritage to emerge as a beacon of resiliency and positivity. And imagine growing up with the culture richness of two worlds, yet feeling the tug of not feeling quite unique to either one. Our guest has transformed this struggle into a strength, embodying the essence of her name, which means wave, a force that is both relentless and adaptable. She's not just strong, she's Wonder Woman level strength, sharing a name meaning with none other than Gal Gadot. But that's not all. She's a self-proclaimed pasta aficionado, passionately believing that life is a combination of magic and pasta, which, as someone who likes eating, can agree. Echoing the sentiments of Frederick Fettuccini, her love for this delicious dish is matched only by her zest for life and unwavering dedication to spreading joy and kindness. Our guest is also a beacon of philanthropy, living by Kate Spade's mantra to leave a sparkle everywhere. She dedicates her time to various nonprofits organizations, bringing smiles and support to children in hospitals, empowering women, and providing companionship to the elderly, something we all can aspire to. Her altruistic endeavors are a testament to her belief in making the world a better place, one act of kindness at a time. Despite the challenges of balancing the expectations of her Bengali heritage with the freedoms of Italian culture, she has forged a unique identity that celebrates both. Her story is a powerful reminder that embracing our differences makes us stronger and more beautiful. Listeners, get ready to be inspired by the remarkable journey and profound wisdom of our guest. It is with great excitement and honor that I welcome to the podcast, Urmi.
Hi.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm good, and you?
I'm very good. We had a great chat beforehand, so we'll jump right into it. I'll let my audience go, oh no, we don't get to learn the banter and that usually happens. But Urmi, you have a great job. We talked beforehand. Amazing. We were not going to talk about that because we want to highlight what you're doing and how you're using your passions to create legacies in different ways while you enjoy the life of a great 9-to-5 job. Not all of us have this joy of being able to have a great job and be able to follow our passions. So hats off to you. But when you're with your passions, why did you decide to delve into entrepreneurial as a passion?
So it all started during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot that I can share to people. Let me start from somewhere. So my very first step was with blogging. And initially when I started to have my blog, it was because I eventually wanted to self-publish a book or write a book. And also because I wanted to create a source of income stream just to see, if this go somewhere? Can I turn my passion into something? And I also read a book at that time, which is called, I forgot the name of the book, but it talks about the concept of ikigai. And there's this whole diagram that basically shows how you combine your passions and how you have to serve other people and how you can find your purpose in life. And so that's what got me started. So I started with blogging, and afterwards I started with YouTube, where I was like, you know what, let me use this other platform to talk about the things that I love. And eventually it went to basically creating my own books. I self-published my first book 2 years ago, and it did not stop there because I was like, you know what, I'm able to do this. Let me see if I can start doing something else too. So I actually created a couple of ebooks, which are also available on Amazon for people if they want to purchase them. And afterwards, it's all also went with, being invited by people to talk about my experience with mentoring for, standing up for women's empowerment, being an advocate of women's empowerment. And a lot of the time I do come across as, as an entrepreneur, but I'm just following my passion and just like working towards that, like I feel like if you could describe me in a word, I don't have one. And that's why I always tell people like I'm a self-published author, blogger, YouTuber, mentor, polyglot speaker, because I also like get invited to speak. But at least, I wanted to create my own personal brand. Like I feel like even though you might have your full-time job, which a lot of people love and stuff like that, you also have like your identity, which is not just your full-time job, but there's more than that. So for me, it was also like creating a personal brand, creating a personal, so like a presence online. And I often say, you have your 9 to 5, but you also have your 5 to 9, which is what I do after work,
Of
which
course.
is fundamental. And I think everyone should really use that time to also like you said, invest in yourself, because that's also something that I stand for. Like I use my time to really learn. I also like participate in a lot of workshop on how you can start doing things. I follow, like I'm enrolled in a lot of Udemy courses where they talk about entrepreneurship, where they talk about public speaking, because I think it's always important to keep learning. And I think that's also very fundamental, especially when you become an entrepreneur, because you are just your own boss. So you have to learn all by yourself.
Yeah, that's a big thing when you start striking out on your own. You lose the structure that usually comes with 9 to 5. You check in, but you're creating that structure now, whether it leads to your a freedom of doing whatever you want, or something that just allows you to have a larger vacation whenever you want. Visit Italy a bit more often and have that good pasta. Instead of
Yeah.
once every 5 years, it's once every 2 years. And so, but I love how you suggested people have that like 5 to 9 and 9 to 5, that separation, so that you do invest in yourself, because these skills that you are learning only make you more valuable at work, because you have the access to this knowledge that your boss may not have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go, hey, I was just watching this course on Udemy about this that talks about this, and then your boss is like, that makes sense, it solves a problem, implement it, and now you're more valuable to your company.
Yeah, and actually, a lot of the things that I do in my personal life, I do actually use them in my current job as well, especially when it comes from the marketing perspective. Like I have to build a website at work, and I knew how to do it because I've done it for myself for my own website, for instance. So, like, I'm able to transfer some of the skills, but I'm also able to transfer some of the skills at work to my own personal thing too. So it's like win-win type of situation. And also like recently with my YouTube channel, I was like, you know what, I want to make it a bit more professional. I want to invest some of my time and money towards it. So I actually like bought an editing program to basically like edit your videos. And that's something new, which is painful when it comes to editing, but I do enjoy taking the time to learn it, because now I feel like, okay, I have like an extra skill that I would have not been able to do otherwise, because initially it was just about, oh yeah, let me just throw some videos out there. But now like I take the time to edit them, to understand a little bit how it works, to cut things, to paste, because I think it could be useful, anytime in the future. You never know. So
Yeah, like if your company decides to start a YouTube channel for anything, you're like, okay, before we invest a lot of money, I can help out there, which only just continually builds your skill set, because now you're getting more hours to work on your skill
yeah,
as an editor, which will pay off on your
yeah.
personal videos, right? Because you have that skill set, and you're just building that muscle memory, which just improves. And then once you hire, if your boss decides to hire an actual editor, now you have a mentor and you can learn even more about them, about the skill, and improve tenfold. You're in a very good and unique place to help both business and yourself.
Yeah, because he's like the company that I work for, like I work for someone who's also somehow like an entrepreneur. So I get to learn from that perspective, because we serve like a niche client. So I do learn a little bit about how the job works basically. So yeah, I get both of the best worlds, I guess that's how you say it. I try to like in every situation that I am, I always try to see how can I like leverage everything that I know in both places, like best result for the minimum level of effort basically.
I think that's the definition of a millennial. I think that's like our motto. How can get the best? The 80-20 principle is pretty much what we live for. A little effort, 80% of the rewards, and we're okay with that. Um, with empowering women, how did you get connected to that? Obviously, it makes sense. You are a female, but there's like at least 4 billion women out there. Not all 4 billion are helping women be empowered. What made you connect to that specific cause?
So it was basically from my own personal experience. Because, like you mentioned in the introduction, like I was born and raised in Italy, and my parents are from Bangladesh. And as I was growing up, I saw a lot of gender stereotypes, a lot of double standards, and often I would hear things like, "Oh, women are not allowed to do this. Women are not allowed to do that," And I was not okay with that, because I think often but it does not just apply to my culture; it applies to like every single culture. Is that we just grow up with stuff like with limiting beliefs that we cannot do certain things. So I wanted to change that. And I joined several organizations throughout this whole years. Like I joined basically organizations that were dedicated to empowering women, especially young girls. I'm talking about like Gen Z, so 20 years old and up. And I've been part of like several of them, like 100 Women in Finance. I'm currently part of Women in Leadership, Femme Palette. And basically, even though some of them, they don't really pay me like financially, they do pay me like from it, like they give me a lot of satisfaction because I'm able to share my own experience with them, like working in finance, studying in finance, for instance, or how can I develop myself as a better person? How can I become better at certain skills? So it came from like my own personal experience and how I've seen like things happen. How I've seen like things being unfair towards a lot of women, unfortunately, and I feel like that has helped a lot with who I want to be as a person. Like I do want people to see my name and think about women's empowerment, because that's what I do. Like I do empower women. I mentor so many people throughout these years. I mentor like a lot of young women, and I'm always encouraging them to go and explore things, try new things. Life is about like a trial and error, and you have to live your life like at the fullest potential. So I'm always like helping them to find their confidence and to live their life in the most authentic way.
I love that. When you started your mentoring, have you had mentors, or like did you just start mentoring out of the blue, being like, I don't know how to mentor, but my life is push myself to the limits?
So when I was in university, I used to be a mentor myself, but I did not know what that meant. Like I was just told like I was given this part-time job, and they were like, yeah, your job is really to like provide guidance and advice to students who are in your same faculty, like, share with them like some of your study tips, how to be a successful student and stuff like that. So that was my first experience being a mentor. But afterwards, when I started working full time, we were introduced like a more formal mentoring program, and that's when I became a mentee. And I had like a couple of mentors in my career. I had some that were like formally my mentor, like there was like an actual formal relationship, but some others, even though they were not formally like in the like written my mentor, I still consider them as mentors. So I had like male and female mentors, but I always looked up to my female mentors because I always saw them as an example. And so I learned a lot from them. And so I learned a lot from them. And that's when I was like, you know what? I think I still want to continue doing this, but I want to mentor other people. And so that's how it all started. Like even after I did this part-time job, even after my like having mentors in my previous companies, I was like, you know what, I still want to continue to do this outside of work, because it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And I do like the connection that I have with a lot of these girls and women, because I can see their drive and passion, and I'm like, you know what, I feel so motivated too after seeing this. So it's very enriching. It's a very enriching experience.
I love that. I want to touch on, because you've set up multiple streams of income. You have your books, you have your blog, you have your YouTube channel, and we know YouTube can be very, very successful and help building all those other ventures, as we can akin to Mr. Beast, the largest YouTuber pretty much on the planet at the moment. With your writing, how what did you feel closest to writing about? Like, how did you choose the topic of your books?
So the first book that I self-published, it's called Discovering Your Identity: A Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. And basically that's sort of like an autobiography. Like I talk about my life in Italy and how it was for me to be a third culture kid. So I do talk about it from the perspective of, being born in Italy, but also like growing up in a South Asian household, and but also from a perspective of a woman. So I do make a comparison and contrast between the two cultures. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this, it was because on my blog I put a story, like in the about section I put about who I am, and I was always asked by people like, oh, do you want to talk about this? And that's what I was like, okay, you know what, I think I have a story that I can tell to people, that I can have have it written. And so that's how I came to write it. But I was actually inspired by another self-published author who spoke about her life in Canada as a Pakistani girl. And so I reached out to her and I was like, how did you do it? And she's like, oh, you don't need to find a publisher. You can just self-publish it yourself. So then I went to buy this book, which is called How to Write a Book in 30 Days. I read that while I was on vacation. And then when I came back, I just started to write it. I just started to write everything that was coming to my mind. I wrote that in 30 days. And then afterwards, I found a freelancer on Fiverr who basically helped me with the whole formatting, with the cover page. And after 2 weeks, it was all done. And then I put it on I put it on Amazon, but it did not stop there. It did not stop there, because afterwards I was like, you know what? I think I can create some ebooks. And because I don't like to wait on people to tell me what to do. Like I'm a go-getter.
I can tell you're like you're already guessing what questions I want to ask next. So I'm just gonna let you talk. I'm gonna shut my mouth now.
So because I'm a go-getter, I don't like to wait on people. I would always see people like publishing ebooks, and I was like, oh, let me see how I can do that. And so I have an account on Canva, and that's how I saw like they give you like template to create ebooks. And then I was like, you know what, let me just see if I can create something. And so like one weekend I wrote like an ebook, I self-published it. And then people were like, oh my gosh, when did you do all of these things? And it did not stop there, actually. Like I still continued like creating ebooks. I think I have like 3 of them on Amazon. And I always think about, okay, what is it that I can offer to people? Like, what is it, like if I was in their shoes, what would I like to know? So I talk about like how I get to invited like into different podcasts, because there was someone who asked me like, how do you get to get invited to so many podcasts? I talked about it in one of the ebooks. I talk about public speaking in one of them. In another one, I thought I gave like Italian expression for people who want to travel to Italy. So I'm always thinking about what's the next thing that I can do. Like that's how my brain works.
That's amazing. Again, you say you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but your brain works as an entrepreneur because you're solving these problems that people may not already know what they have. I may not know that I need to know these little quick Italian phrases that make me seem more local than a tourist. And you have that book already out. Boom! I can go pick it up. Like people now hear that can go, oh, Urmi has a book on that. I'm good. So you may not say you're an entrepreneur, but you think like one, which is a very great benefit to your boss and to yourself, because you get to make these little things, little projects for yourself, and you have the joy. How do you go about investing in yourself? Because you do a lot, and I don't understand how you find time. But like, how do you go about investing in yourself to get better at skills, or to level up your skills and stuff?
So it's not about finding the time, it's about creating the time. And I think it's all about like priorities. I actually took a course about time management on Udemy. But I do put boundaries. Like there is the 9 to 5 job. And after I'm done with my 9 to 5 job, I do really dedicate my afternoon to really like learn. So like I set small goals on a weekly basis where I tell myself, okay, I'm going to do like a 30 minutes Udemy courses. Another thing that I do on my right to work is like read books. That's very important for me, and I always keep that habit because I read another book called Atomic Habits, and how the author talks about how it's important to start small and then all of this compounds eventually. I listen to a lot of podcasts. A lot of them are about the economy, but I also learn about entrepreneurship. I learn a lot about like public speaking, improving your skills. Like a lot of them about self development, and I make it easy to incorporate all these like things because, for instance, my commute to work it takes an hour, so I have time to read. When I'm walking outside during my lunchtime, I'm listening to something, so I have time to like learn in that moment as well. After work, I do take the time to really just do a little bit. It's like, it doesn't have to be so much, but I do take the time to do a little bit of like courses on Udemy. And I also, it's not just about learning, but I also take time to do other things. Like boxing is another important thing for me, and I do see it as an investing in yourself. I think it's important to not just like nurturing your mind, but also your body. So I do, for instance, boxing. So I block the time on my calendar, the days where I have to do all of these things. So, because for me, those are like religious, like no one can touch them. And I do take also the weekend to do all of these things because a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, but do you have time to do other things? Like, do you enjoy your life? But for me, this is enjoyment. Like I do very much enjoy doing these things. Like I also write articles for not just for my blog, but also for other organizations. And I do feel a lot of satisfaction from it. Like I don't think it always has to be about money. I think it's a lot of like fulfillment and personal satisfaction. So I always find the time. Honestly, I find the time, I create the time, and I also have the time to enjoy my life too, like my social life. I also love traveling, so I do find the time. It's just about prioritizing what matters to you the most.
I can see that you enjoy your life so much. Your smile when you talk about this is like not just ear to ear. Like I think it's like brightening blind because you have such passion, such energy for what you're doing. And I can only see that translates into every aspect of your life because you're talking about pretty much your whole aspect of your life, and your smile hasn't stopped. I'm a little jealous, to be truthful, because I haven't found that balance yet. You seem to have the work-life balance that people allude to, and I think you're redefining what is success as well. Because like you said, it's not money, because you obviously have the skills to make oodles and oodles of money if you wanted. But you're finding that you have the freedom to do everything you want, and you're getting what you want out of life, which I think is again another definition of entrepreneurship. So as much as you may push against that title, you can add it to your resume. Not only are you a passive aficionado, a polymath speaker, you are an entrepreneur who loves their day job. We are coming up to the end, which I hate, but I have to respect your time because you are a busy person, Urmi. If you could give your 10-year-old self some advice, one piece of advice, really, to let them, something you wish you were told when you were 10, right? We have the hindsight 2020. What is that piece of advice you would love to pass back to your 10-year-old self?
Is it about entrepreneurship or
It
is
can be
it?
about anything in life, because it's advice to our 10-year-old self. Like my advice would always be just keep pushing forward. That's something I always say, and just do it. Live in the discomfort. That can be some advice. Whatever advice you wish you like, maybe something you learned now that you wish you knew back when you were 10. That can be pieces of advice about who you are as an individual.
I would definitely tell my 10-year-old is what I would tell is that it eventually gets better. And why I'm saying this, it's because I feel a lot of the times, we all have a lot of problems. We want to have everything figured out. If we're going through something, we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but eventually things do get better. And it's about being patient with ourselves, being patient with the things that we cannot control. And even though you're having a moment of darkness, the light will be there eventually. And why I'm saying this, it's because I do feel like we have a lot of pressure. We get a lot of pressure, like from our parents, from elderly people, that we just have to have everything done by a certain age. But it does not work like that. It's like growth is not linear. It will come eventually. And for me, it just came like after I turned 30, so it took a long time, but now I am here, I'm here. So this is the advice I would tell my younger self, like, everything will get better eventually.
I love it. It's great pieces of advice. Urmi, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to let the audience know where they can connect with you if they're looking to connect, maybe looking for a mentor, and that. So the floor is yours.
Yes. So I have my YouTube channel called Urmi Hossain. I have my LinkedIn profile called Urmi Hossain. My blog is called myways.ca. I have an Instagram account called Urmamio. And if anyone wants to purchase my book, it's available on Amazon. It's called Discovering Your Identity, A Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. And if you look for my name on Amazon, you will also find my other ebooks as well.
Amazing, Urmi. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and sharing your passion about everything you do with my audience and myself. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
To my audience, of course, you can check out the show notes. I'll make sure that I have all the links to Urmi so you can connect with her and, take your mentorship to the next level, maybe invest in yourself and learn from her. And as always, I want to thank you for listening, and remember to always invest in yourself.